Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ben here, and today I'm coming at you with another video about my NBA season preview. This is part 2 of the 5-part series, and today I am going to be covering the Western Conference lottery teams. Basically the teams 15 through 9 who I do not think will make the playoffs. I'm just going to talk a little bit about their rosters, about why I don't think they'll be that good, just about the general outlook for the team this season, and let's get into it. So, as the 15 seed in the Western Conference, the team that I think will be the worst in the conference, at this spot I have slotted Sacramento. Now, do I think that Sacramento has a good future whatsoever? I think they have a slightly good future. I could see them make the playoffs one day. I feel like I'm compelled to say that just because they're going to have a lot of high draft picks in the past couple of years and the next couple of years going forward. Marvin Bagley, I don't know exactly what to expect from him. I think as a rookie, a good expectation would be like 11 points and 7 rebounds a night. I don't expect him to get a ton of playing time with the likes of Skal Labissiere, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Zach Randolph and Harry Giles already on the team. So it's a crowded front court. I don't know how much time he'll get necessarily, but I think a good expectation would be like 25 minutes a night. Hopefully he can get that much and get those stats in. He'll be a pretty decent player in his rookie year, but I think sort of like we saw from De'Aaron Fox last year, like promising but rough around the edges. I think we can expect that from Marvin Bagley as well. So to go through the starting lineup quick, it'll probably look like De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, at small forward, probably Bojan Bogdanovic, and then Zach Randolph and Willie Cauley-Stein. Main guys off the bench looking to be Garrett Temple. Or no, Garrett Temple is not there anymore, sorry. Main guys off the bench looking to be Skal Labissiere and Marvin Bagley. And yeah, those are like the main. Marvin Bagley is probably going to be the 6th man. And I think it'll be interesting to see how De'Aaron Fox develops in this next season, because I think that they were really cashing in on him being sort of like a next John Wall, and he didn't show that completely last year. His stats were okay. He wasn't great. He was a bit turnover prone, and he seemed to have a bit of a difficult adjusting to the curve of the NBA from college, but he should improve. Buddy Hield's proven now that he's like a pretty... I'm not going to say he's a legit scorer, because that would make him sound like he's lighting the world on fire. But he's good for 16 points a night on a team. Bojan's a pretty decent shooter. This team has okay pieces, but none of them are great. They're all right. And I think that's really not enough in the Western Conference. So I have them at the 15. I expect them to win around 25 games. I don't think that that's too low. And yeah, so... that's what I got for them. At the 14, I have the Suns. Now, I actually like a lot of the moves the Suns did this year, bringing in Trevor Ariza, trading away Marquise Chriss and Brandon Knight for Ryan Anderson. And, they still have a lot of their guys like Booker and TJ Warren and Tyson Chandler, so they still have some of their core from last year. But I think that they brought in solid veterans who can sort of teach the way and help out a guy like DeAndre Ayton, who's just trying to find his way in the league. Those two guys that I discussed that they brought in have been on teams that have gone to the playoffs and had deep playoff runs, most notably last year, obviously, but just in general at different times. Trevor Ariza has been to the finals twice and has won an NBA championship. Ryan Anderson has been on contending teams in Orlando. He's been on a playoff team when he was in New Orleans one year, and the playoffs for a few years in Houston, so he's familiar. I really like what they've done. They've surrounded these young guys in Booker, Warren, and Ayton. They've surrounded them with good vets. Tyson Chandler, I think, is a good influence there, so I like this team, and I think that even though they are the 14 seed, that might be more because Devin Booker is going to miss some time the first couple weeks of the season. I think that they'll struggle pretty hard without him. But I also failed to mention Josh Jackson, but I like him on this team too. So for the starting lineup, I expect it to look like Tyler Ulis, Devin Booker, TJ Warren. Power forward, I expect some DeAndre Ayton And then at center, I expect Tyson Chandler. Yes, DeAndre Ayton is not a natural power forward, but I think that they might start him there just to because they don't really have a natural power forward. I don't think they want to start Ryan Anderson at this point. Just at the stage he's in his career, he's on the decline a little bit, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, that's still a pretty solid starting lineup. When Devin Booker's out, I expect them to probably start Ariza in his place and flip T.J. Warren up to the shooting guard spot, which I think is fine. I also think we might have to look out in the regular season for, once Devin Booker comes back, some lineups where he plays point guard. You got maybe T.J. Warren at shooting guard, Trevor Ariza small forward, Josh Jackson power forward, DeAndre Ayton at center. That's going to be a run and gun lineup if they have that. I'll be really interested to see how their new coach, his first name's Igor. I don't really want to attempt to say his last name because I think I'll say it wrong. I don't want to insult him, but they have a lot of pieces who are sort of at a similar level and a lot of young guys who are promising. So it'll be interesting to see the various matchups that they have for lineups, but I do think it'll hurt them not having Booker for the first few weeks. And so for that reason, I'm having them down here. At the 13 seed, I see the Memphis Grizzlies. This is presuming that Mike Conley and Marc Gasol stay fully healthy. I like those guys. I think that, you know, Mike Conley is one of the best point guards in the league to never make an all-star team. I'd say he's a different player than Kemba Walker, but he's probably on the same level as far as talent as Kemba. Marc Gasol is a weird guy now that he got David Fizdale fired. He kind of has a weird reputation around the NBA. Like, people recognize that he's good, but he's definitely declining, and people don't really like him much anymore just because of how he treated Fizdale. But he's still a talented guy. He's still probably a top 15 center in the NBA, you'd say. He can give you 15 and 10 a night, and he can shoot it from 3 now, which is promising. Jaren Jackson's a guy who's all right, too, at the power forward. He'll start. He's a rookie. I expect him to be decent, not great. I've said before, I'll say it again, I think he's a soft bust. Just like I think DeAndre Ayton's a soft bust. Which, if you don't know, I think that means that, like, they come in being super highly touted, and I think they end up playing, like, well, but not up to the expectations that were expected of them. I expect him to put up about 13 and 8 a night in his rookie year. Nothing amazing, but he'll definitely help. And then they have a plethora of just, like, really average to mediocre supporting casts, like Dylan Brooks, Ben McLemore, Chandler Parsons, JaMychal Green. I don't think that any of those guys are bad. I just don't think that any of them are NBA starting caliber, but they're going to have to start 2 of those guys at the 3 and at the 2. Probably most likely Dylan Brooks and Ben McLemore, honestly, or Chandler Parsons is the other most likely candidate. JaMychal Green's not going to start because of Jaren Jackson. But they're all right. I think that they're really going to try hard to win games, but I think that with a roster so devoid of talent that they're not going to have a ton of success unless I have them here at the 13 seed. At the 12 seed, I have the Dallas Mavericks. I think that the Mavericks have a pretty talented, pretty promising roster. Starting lineup's probably going to look something like Dennis Smith, Luka Doncic. Probably then you're going to have Harrison Barnes, Dirk Nowitzki, and DeAndre Jordan. And off the bench, Wes Matthews and J.J. Barea as the main cogs off the bench. They could feasibly throw Harrison Barnes down at the 4 and put like Wes Matthews in the starting lineup and have Dirk come off the bench as the 6th man. But I think you might as well just start Dirk, even if it means playing him for 5 minutes and taking him out. Just let him start. It doesn't really mean anything. It's only a few minutes at the beginning of the game. You can start him. But yeah, I really like the pieces of Doncic and Dennis Smith and DeAndre Jordan and Harrison Barnes. I like them all a lot. Even Wes Matthews, I think that he wasn't as good when he was supposed to be like, when Monte Ellis left and they brought in Wes Matthews, he was sort of supposed to be like Dirk's sidekick, like the main big guy that they were bringing in to be like this guy who scores 19 points a night and is kind of like Dirk's wingman. I don't expect that whatsoever, and I didn't expect that whatsoever. It was unfair of people to think that of him. He's good for 14 points a night. That's just the type of guy he is. So I think him being a 6th or 7th man is where he's supposed to be in the NBA, and I think that's what he'll become now. Excuse me. So now with the 11, I have the Clippers. Clippers finished 42-40 last year. I expect a similar thing from them this year, probably around 41-41. I honestly don't think the loss of DeAndre Jordan will impact them that much. I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming in. Jerome Robinson's supposed to be pretty decent for a rookie, so I look forward to seeing him play. And they do still have a plethora of talented guards on the team. I like Theodosic at point guard. I like Beverly at point guard. Lou Williams and Avery Bradley as shooting guards. Hopefully Gallinari is healthy. He can start at small forward and be an impact player for them. Tobias Harris is one of the best kept secrets in the NBA. He's a guy who I think this year is going to put up 20 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He's going to shoot over 50% from the field and over 40% from 3. But yet no one wants to talk about him. No one wants to make him an all-star. But really, you know, he's about as good as Gordon Hayward is. And Gordon Hayward was an all-star in the Western Conference 2 years ago. So I don't know why Tobias Harris can't be. At center, Gortat's obviously a downgrade from Jordan, but oh well, what do you do? Pretty decent center for not really having a plan when Jordan left. Gortat's a pretty good B plan, I guess. And then their main bench guys are, well, I expect Avery Bradley and Pat Beverly to be the starting shooting guard and point guard. So off the bench, their main guys would be Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Gilgeous-Alexander. Those are probably going to be the 3 main guys off the bench. Probably going to see some Theodosic too, but they have a lot of guards and it's going to be crowded. But yeah, I think that this team will not be bad by any stretch and will be somewhat interesting to see play. Next at the 10 seed, this is the hardest team in this whole thing to place. I struggled to know where to put this team, but I just went with the presumption that they're going to sort of have a bad year and they're going to struggle from inter-turmoil. And the team I'm talking about is the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Jimmy Butler situation is pretty crazy. I expect them to get rid of him at some point this year. I hope so, just for the sake of having peace in the locker room. I expect them to win around 43 games, 44 maybe, if Jimmy Butler isn't there the whole year. If he is, they'll probably get in the playoffs, but I'm just going to go with the assumption that he leaves at some point or that he doesn't play the whole season with the team. Besides that, they have a decent core. Starting lineup would probably look something like Jeff Teague at the 1, Derrick Rose at the 2, which would be interesting. And then Wiggins at the 3, Gibson at the 4, Karl Towns at the 5. Main guys off the bench looking to be Gorgui Dieng, Tyus Jones for point guard, Anthony Tolliver as sort of a small forward, power forward option. So yeah, you know, they have some okay pieces. Their bread and butter is going to be Cat and Andrew Wiggins, though. And if they do start Butler, obviously Derrick Rose will come off the bench, and Jimmy Butler will be the starting shooting guard. But I'm just going to assume at some point he's leaving the team. I sort of hope so, just for the sake of peace. But we'll see. But yeah, I have them as the 10 seed. I would have them a lot higher, probably around like the 4 seed if it hadn't been for all this drama. But you know what they say. Oh well. And then at the 9 seed, this might be a controversial one just because the West is so crowded. So I apologize in advance to the fans of this team. I don't think that they're a bad team. I think that it's just a crowded West, and just by chance, they might be the team that ends up on the outside. But I have the Pelicans as the 9 seed. I don't have them making the playoffs. Now you might say, what are you talking about? The Pelicans had such a great record after Cousins went down, and they basically have that same team except throwing Julius Randle. That's true, but they did take away Rondo too, who had a very underrated, very good season last year. No one talked about it until the playoffs when everyone talks about playoff Rondo. but he had a good year last year, and I think Elfrid Payton, I don't want to, saying significant downgrade makes Elfrid Payton sound like a bad player. I don't think he's a significant downgrade. I think that as far as like production on court, he's similar to Rondo, but I think Rondo brings a lot more basketball IQ to the game. And I think, you might say, well, Rondo puts up about 9 and 9, and Elfrid Payton can probably put up about like 10 and 8 or 10 points and 7 assists a game. Like, that's pretty comparable. And I'd say, like, yeah, but Rondo's just so much more savvy than Payton. And Payton has a broken jump shot, which Rondo did too. But I don't think that he's just going to be as good. Your starting lineup for this team is going to look like Payton at the 1, Jrue Holiday at the 2. I hope Mirotic starts at the 3, but I don't expect it. So I'll say Darius Miller at the 3, Anthony Davis at the 4, and Julius Randle starting as a sort of a smaller center. Main guys off the bench looking, Mirotic is going to be the 6th man, and then you're going to have E'Twaun Moore. And it'll be interesting to see if Jahlil Okafor gets much play time, because they signed him. I think that he could be a pretty good center off the bench for them. I think that he's a guy that a lot of people sort of threw away in the NBA, but he's still got some talent and a place as a backup center in the league. And so, yeah, I think that this team's good, but I think outside of Jrue Holiday and Anthony Davis and Julius, well, I guess, I don't know, outside of Jrue Holiday and Anthony Davis, the rest of these guys are like all right. Mirotic and Julius Randle are good players, but would they start on a playoff team and any other team in the Western Conference? Maybe on the Trailblazers, but not really on any of the other teams. So for that reason, I have them at the 9th slot, probably about 45 wins this year, I expect. And I'll explain in the next video a little bit why I have them this low and why I have the other team that I do ahead of them. And so stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have anything to say, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.